Hey, what's up guys? It's Rick with The Digital Divide. Today's recipe is going to be empanadas. You may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I am Spanish. I was born in Puerto Rico, in Mayaguez, although I'm probably the whitest Spanish person you've ever met. That said, my family is Puerto Rican, and I grew up watching my mom make empanadas all the time, so it's a very, very popular Spanish dish, and today I figured I would take a crack at it with my own little twist. But as always, I want to start off by saying wash your hands. You don't want to be this guy.
Hey, Ryan, were you able to wash your hands in there?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But, my bathroom sink's broken.
I know. I use the kitchen sink.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? My kitchen sink's broken, not my bathroom sink.
You didn't wash your hands, Ryan. It's not like it's a big deal. It's just, it's polite to wash your hands, and it's sanitary.
I'm a monster!
Alright guys, this recipe has a ton of ingredients. I'm going to go over the main ones here. The first thing you're going to need is some bread flour. Next we're going to need some vegetable oil, and you're going to use the entire container. Next thing we're going to need is some lean ground beef. Next, you're going to need some melting cheese. I prefer cheddar, but you can use whatever cheese you prefer. Next, we're going to need some sugar. And we're also going to need some salt and some garlic powder. And then we're also going to need some paprika and some ground black pepper, as well as some basil leaves and some whole oregano. And then we're also going to need some minced garlic. And we're also going to need a little bit of parsley flakes. And we're going to need some ground thyme as well. And then you're going to need 2 bell peppers, in addition to 1 small red onion. And then you'll also need some butter as well. So we're going to start off by prepping our onion. So we're going to cut off both ends of the onion. And then we're going to peel off the dry outer layer. And you're going to want to grab a bag to throw away the parts that we're not going to use. And then we're just going to go ahead and dice this onion up. Once we're done dicing up our onion, we're going to place it into a bowl and go ahead and get started on your peppers. So with the pepper, you're going to want to cut a circle around the top where the stem is. And then you're going to pull out the stem because that's where all the seeds are attached, and we're not going to use that for this recipe. Next, we're going to dice up our bell pepper. And then you're just going to repeat the process for the second one as well. place everything in the bowl, and then we should have all of our bell peppers and onions in this bowl ready to go, and we'll just set that aside for now. Next, we're going to start making our seasoning, and this is what we're going to use to season the ground beef. First, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of oregano, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of ground thyme. Next, we're going to add a teaspoon of parsley flakes. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of basil leaves. Next, we're going to add a teaspoon of paprika. And then we'll add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Next, we'll add a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. And shake everything around a little bit, and this mix is going to be what we use to season our beef for the empanadas. Next, we're going to grab a measuring cup, and we're going to add roughly 2 cups of flour to get started. Next, you're going to want to grab a large mixing bowl, and we're going to go ahead and pour our flour into that mixing bowl. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt into the flour. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. Next, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to cut this into smaller chunks to make them more manageable, because we're going to have to kind of smush this and mix it into the flour. Once the butter's cut up, just go ahead and throw it into the flour, and then start crushing everything up and mixing it into the flour. Once everything's properly mixed up, we're going to add 1 cup of water to the mix. And then we're going to go ahead and mix everything up and form our dough for the empanadas. And this should not be too sticky. So periodically, if it's too sticky, you're just going to want to add a little bit more flour until you get the consistency that you're looking for. It should be very much kind of like a pizza dough. It shouldn't stick to your fingers by the end of it. So once our dough is made, we're we're going to go ahead and grab a large cooking pan and pour a little bit of vegetable oil on top of it. And then we're going to add a little bit of non-stick cooking spray. Now we're ready to cook our ground beef. So go ahead and cut that open, add it to the pan, and then cook it until it's a nice brown. Once the beef is mostly cooked, we're going to grab our garlic and we're going to add 1 tablespoon of garlic. Next, we're going to grab our diced bell peppers and onions that we made earlier, and we're going to add those into the mix. We're also going to add a little bit more salt, and then we're just going to stir everything until it's nice and mixed. So this is the point where you're going to want to add all the seasoning that we made earlier. So go ahead and pour that into the beef and cook it along with everything else. After you've done that, grab 2 cooking pans. I promise these are cleaner than they look. And then just add some no-stick cooking spray and coat both of the pans in that spray. And then we'll go ahead and set these pans aside for now, and we'll start forming our empanada crust. So grab as much or as little as you like depending on the size that you want the empanada to be, and then we're going to flatten this out. Okay, you know what? Using a wooden roller turned out to be a horrible idea because it sticks to the wood. So I'm just going to put this roller away, and I'm just going to do this by hand. Alright, so you're going to want to grab as much dough as necessary to make 1 serving of empanada, and again, you can make it as big or as small as you want, but you want to flatten it out so it's like a circular pattern here. And once you've gotten the shape that you're happy with, we're going to go ahead and start filling it up. So we're going to grab our beef, onions, and bell peppers here, and we're going to start filling up the empanada. Once you add in the beef, we're then going to go ahead and grab whatever melting cheese you decided to go with. In my case, I'm using extra sharp cheddar cheese. So we're going to go ahead and put this on top so that it'll melt into the beef and just taste amazing. Now, I'm also going to drizzle a little bit of this avocado ranch dressing that I use. It's just really delicious, so I try to use it as much as possible. So we're just going to add a little bit there, and then we're going to start closing up our empanada. So you're going to grab one edge and you're going to fold it over onto the other half of the empanada, and then you're going to pinch the edges and then kind of fold them up onto themselves. Lastly, you're going to grab a fork and you're just going to completely pinch off the ends of the empanada so that it doesn't open up while you're frying it. And then when you're done with that, go ahead and grab your empanada and place it onto the pan that we prepared earlier. And then just repeat this process until you're out of ingredients to make empanadas. Once we're all done, we're going to go ahead and grab all of our empanadas, and we're gonna chill them in the fridge for exactly 1 hour. The reason that we're doing this is to dry them out so that they don't immediately fall apart when we go to deep fry them in the oil later. So we're going to go ahead and chill for 1 hour. Once that hour has passed, you're going to want to grab a large cooking pan, and you're going to want to grab your vegetable oil and pour the entire bottle into the cooking pan. And then we're going to let this heat up for a little bit. And while that's heating up, we're going to go ahead and grab our empanadas that have been chilling for an hour, and they should be nice and dried by this point. Once the oil is heated up, we're going to go ahead and drop our empanadas into it. You can cook about 3 at a time depending on how big your cooking pan is. But we're going to go ahead and drop these in, and then we're just going to go ahead and let them soak up the oil here. And after a while, the oil will start bubbling, and you just want to keep them completely submerged until eventually they start turning a golden color of brown here, which takes about 6.5 to 7 minutes in my experience. So we'll just continue letting them cook for that duration of time. And then while they're cooking, I would recommend grabbing a plate and putting some napkins on it. And then we're going to go ahead, once they're fully cooked, and we're going to place them on top of the napkin so that the napkin absorbs any excess oil. And we're going to let these cool off for a bit. And then at this point, we're mostly done, and you're ready to serve. Now, these are not the prettiest looking empanadas, but I assure you they taste absolutely delicious. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. As always, if you try making this recipe at home, let me know how it turned out. And as always, thank you for watching.